Hey there, I'm Simon Owens. Welcome to U.S. News and World Report. And here with me, I have Mike Riggs, a reporter for Reason Magazine. And Mike, you've been covering a lot of having to do with Obama's drug policies, and you've been specifically writing recently about his second-term drug policies. Obviously, prior to his first term, Obama had famously said that he wasn't going to make it a priority for the DOJ to prosecute people who live in states where medical marijuana is legal. But a lot of people within the activist community feel like he failed to deliver on that promise. What has he been saying leading up to his second term in terms of what his priorities are and how he's going to approach drug policy?
Well, the kind of interesting thing is he hasn't actually said much at all, right? I mean, occasionally in his first term, Obama would do an interview. He did a YouTube interview. He did a Rolling Stone interview where somebody would ask, you said this about marijuana in 2008. You said it previously as a senator and as a state senator in Illinois, and it doesn't seem to have worked out that way. And where we are right now, on Obama's side, is that the Obama administration has clarified its response on marijuana, which is this. We never said that we would not crack down on providers. The Obama administration's argument has pretty much always been, if you're using marijuana because you have cancer, you have HIV, we're never going to send a federal agent after you. We're never going to, DEA agents are never going to knock down your door. So what that meant is, even though this memo came out in 2009 called the Ogden Memo saying the Obama administration will not go after medical marijuana users, a lot of growers and sellers said, well, that means I must be safe too. The Obama administration didn't actually intend it for them, or later said that they didn't intend it for them. There's some discrepancy over whether or not it was supposed to be read that way by commercial growers initially. So where we left off is without even a really firm stance on medical marijuana. And as you can imagine, that means that the recreational business is going to be that much, the recreational business we're seeing in Washington and Colorado is going to be that much more, there's that much more to enforce laws on because, there's no claims of cancer, HIV. There's going to be more money involved because these people can now sell for profit, whereas in most states, medical marijuana dispensaries cannot be for profit. I mean, they get around this by having executives that pay themselves a lot of money, but technically they can't have shareholders, they can't be these giant things. So where we're moving to now is there's no certainty whatsoever. The only certainty we have a little bit is that Washington's governor said that he met with Attorney General Eric Holder and that he left the meeting with Holder confident that he could continue writing regulations for Washington State's legal marijuana business.
So you think that there's a chance that the feds might keep their hands off of Colorado and Washington?
Well, I think what really needs to happen, what activists want to see happen is they don't want Obama to have to do this alone. Because if you look at gay rights, don't ask, don't tell, you look at women serving in the military, you look at what immigration is required, Obama is not going to have to do immigration on his own. He's got a huge activist community, he's got the House and the Senate. So basically what marijuana activists want to, what they really want, and they're getting this in the House somewhat, is they want they want Congress to talk about this, and they want some clear leaders to come out to say, this is how we should change the laws. They've got that with House Democrats Jared Polis and Earl Blumenauer. Polis is from Colorado, Blumenauer is from Oregon. And they've got it from Patrick Leahy, Senator Patrick Leahy, who's from Vermont, and he's chair of the Judiciary Committee. But, that's 3 people out of 535. So they need more of that. And that, I think, is what's going to give the White House the confidence to stake out a position on this.
Well, speaking of them, can you talk a little bit about this new piece of legislation that was just submitted to Congress? Is this the biggest federal push so far? Obviously, it probably doesn't have that great a chance of winning, but this seems to be some kind of major milestone of some sort.
Yeah, well, we had 2 introduced yesterday, one introduced by Polis and one introduced by Blumenauer. And the one that Polis introduced is one that we've seen before from Congressman Ron Paul and Barney Frank, which is just a bill repealing marijuana prohibition at the federal level. It doesn't make it legal anywhere. It just says that states will be able to determine their own marijuana laws. And as of right now, every state in the country now except Colorado and Washington has its own law about marijuana. So it's, there's the federal law that will govern, big operations and that kind of stuff, and then every state has their own federal law, their own state law, I'm sorry. So the Polis legislation, which we've seen before, would just say, this is totally up to states, 100%. Then we saw another law introduced by Blumenauer. It was really fascinating, called the Marijuana Tax Equity Act. I think that's right, yeah. And it basically gives us a sense of what the federal investment will be in marijuana as a sort of national product. So the two biggest proposals in it are an excise tax of 50%, and that's not a tax that consumers pay. It's a tax that gets added to the product when it goes from the grower to whoever's going to sell it. And then the removal of marijuana from the DEA supervision, which the Drug Enforcement Administration now handles all illicit substances. It will move it from there, and it'll put it under alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and firearms. So that's the most concrete thing we've ever seen from Congress, that we've ever seen any politician in Washington say. We've seen before, let's decriminalize, let's repeal prohibition, and all that essentially means is we're going to divest ourselves from this discussion. This is an actual active, this is how Washington, D.C. should be involved in marijuana. Whether or not they'll pass, Frank and Paul's didn't have a chance. It didn't even get a hearing. It got tabled immediately. The current chair of the Judiciary Committee in the House, Bob Goodlatte, who, he is basically going to be the gatekeeper for whether or not these new pieces of legislation even get a hearing. In the past, he's come out against marijuana, but he's not what you'd call he's not what you call a drug warrior, I don't think. He sent form letters to constituents saying, I think marijuana is bad. But the truth is, everybody is having a very different discussion after Colorado and Washington. The tide has turned. State houses all over the country are introducing tax and regulate legislation. State houses all over the country are getting ready with medical marijuana bills, with decriminalization bills. I mean, basically, I think the tide has turned.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that you had a piece recently that there may be as many as 4 pieces of legislation put forth in states. Yeah. And you also mentioned before gay rights. It's interesting to draw a parallel there, where it seems like gay rights is becoming a state-by-state issue, where it's kind of progressively moving from state to state. Kind of reminds me of things with interracial marriages and stuff like that in the mid-20th century. And then obviously bills like immigration and climate are more national in scope. Do you think this is going to be a state-by-state movement?
That's what it's sort of always been, in the sense California had passed its medical marijuana law in 1996, and every state that's done so has sort of done it on their own. It's interesting that you draw a parallel to gay marriage, just because a lot of marijuana advocates see they parallel their whole movement sort of after gay marriage. They see they see decriminalization, which is not legalization. It just means you don't lock people up anymore. You fine them. They see that as a civil union, as a parallel to civil union, and they see full legalization as a parallel to gay marriage. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to see so far, and it's going to start on the coast, and basically on states that either border Canada or border the Pacific or Atlantic, which is what we see now, and then it's probably going to move inward. And a lot of other issues do that. A lot of state-by-state issues were sort of the last places to change their laws being the Deep South.
Mm-hmm. I guess my last question is, as I was looking at some of your writing recently, and you had a list of people who should be considered enemies of the legalization movement, and you mentioned Hillary Clinton as somebody who should be at the top of the list or near the top of the list, and that made me kind of curious. I wonder if you could elaborate on that.
Basically, so the list, it was a response to Rolling Stone, which ran a list that picked a lot of people who didn't have power, and I think that really when you talk about people who can obstruct, they should talk about people in power. Hillary Clinton does not ever come up as a drug warrior. People complain about Eric Holder because he's the Attorney General. They complain about Michelle Winter because she's head of the DEA. They complain about Obama because he's the executive chief. But Hillary Clinton has basically been in charge of all of our drug war efforts in Central America and South America. And, over the last 10 years, she hasn't been responsible for all of it, but over the last 10 years, that's been, $20-30 billion that we've spent stoking the drug war fire in Mexico, which has killed at least 70,000 people, maybe more. Plan Colombia, this kind of stuff. She wasn't responsible for Plan Colombia, but Mexico's drug war, especially the last 4 years of it, is Hillary Clinton's responsibility somewhat. She has been the person, she appointed people from the State Department to oversee it. She has coordinated efforts between the United States and the Mexican government. So, and she's also come out and said that there's no way we should ever legalize or could legalize even marijuana. So, again, the buck doesn't stop with her. It always stops with the executive. We knew that under Bush. We know that under Obama. But she has been in lockstep with a very old way of thinking, particularly about marijuana.
Okay, well, those are all the questions I had. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
All right, have a great day.